This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Support for this podcast comes from Manscaped, who is the best in the business in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. We're coming close to Christmas, guys. Our jingle bells are starting to jangle. Any of you single guys at your office Christmas party and you see the woman of your dreams across the floor, but you're too down in confidence and you're not sure about your tinsel down below to go and ask her out? Well, that's why Manscaped has designed the electric trimmer. The Lawnmower 2.0 is proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your baubles. Manscaping accents are finally a thing of the past. You wouldn't use the same trimmer on your face as you would maybe down there, because that's just nasty. And also, Manscaped has provided us with the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits, so why not put it down there too? Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. Always use the right tools for the job, and you know what? Your baubles will thank you. So once again, get 20% off and free shipping when you use the code BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code BIGHEADS. Greetings, Dogpound Nation, and welcome to the Two Green Browns podcast with your host Neil Dunworth, and we are back with a Week 14 betting preview and an overall NFL preview. I'm here on my own again today, but never fear, the guys from One Super Bowl Drive will be back. We just have some scheduling conflicts at the moment. I've been away an awful lot, and I've been not had the exact same schedule as usual, but all will be returning to its normal state very, 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 very soon. So from a Browns point of view, we are on to the Bengals this week. Obviously, we will have a preview show up with John, and we have a very, very special trip that myself and John are going on this week to the Browns European fans meet up with the British Browns backers, which we will be talking to you a small bit about later in the week. Obviously, we do know that we haven't had a Steelers review up yet. It's still a bit tight to the bone, but please, we might roll all those into one for our Cincinnati preview show as well tomorrow. So we're here to talk about the betting preview for the coming week, Week 14 in the NFL. But prior to that, let's take a little pause for one of the great podcasts here on the Big Heads Media Podcast Network, and we'll speak to you again in the next 30 seconds.
Hi there. Sean, Steve, Alex, and Jamal here from the Hogstye Podcast.
For the past 5 years, we brought the latest news, hottest scoops, and the best interviews with players and beat reporters to the Redskins fans across the globe.
No matter your Redskins interest, we've got no shortage of great content for you.
Check us out on thehogstye.com, bigheadsmedia.com, and all major podcast platforms.
And we're back. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and maybe, you never know, you might know somebody that might be interested in that podcast and that may be able to get full value out of listening to some of the wonderful podcasts we have here on the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. But we're all here to try and make some money. Anybody that followed the tips and tricks that we gave out last week, you would have gotten some nice bit of cashola in the pocket. Anybody who would have followed all of my Thanksgiving tips plus the 49ers plus 5.5 points, you'd be a wealthy man, just as I was when I woke up on Monday morning. Made a nice wedge on that one into the four figures, so it was nice. It was a nice little pre-Christmas bonus for myself, but hopefully we can get onwards and get something huge cooking again this week. So what I'm going to do is, this might be a bit late for some of you guys, but I'm going to start with the Cowboys versus the Bears. Going to try and wrap this one up nice and quickly. Cowboys versus the Bears, Thursday night game. Cowboys are 3-point dogs. The over and under is 43.5 is what it's set at the moment. I'm very simple one here. Going to go with the Cowboys -3. I think that Ezekiel Elliott is going to wear down this team. Dak Prescott is by far the better quarterback, and the Cowboys need to muster a win. They're not out of any running for anything just yet, and I know there's just been a bit of negativity over Jason Garrett recently, and they did fail to perform on Thanksgiving, but I do think that the Cowboys beat the Bears. I think I'm going to take them -3 and won't be putting them in any accumulator, but if there was a gun to my head, I would be saying Cowboys -3 in that one. Next we're on to Baltimore, who visit the Bills. And the Baltimore are -5.5 favourites in that one. The over-under is 44 points in this. And I think if I was a betting man, if I was a Baltimore fan, which I'm certainly not, I would be taking Baltimore -5.5. And I would actually bet the under in this one. I don't think this is going to be a rip-roaring game. I think it's going to be supremely cold, I think, for this game. If I was looking at the weather forecast and I'm taking maybe 3 to 5 points off for the weather, it looks like it's going to be cold in Buffalo this weekend. What's new for this time of year, says everybody. Baltimore obviously have a lot going for them. They're on the crest of a wave, and they're everybody's favourite to absolutely storm the AFC at the moment, and probably rightly so, looking at their form and so on. So I'm taking Baltimore -5.5, but if you wanted to be cheeky and parlay the two of them together, Baltimore -5.5 and under 44 points is a nice chunk of change. It's a nice odds which could earn you a nice chunk of change. Won't be putting it in my accumulator for the end of the show. I will tell you about what my accumulator is going to be later on, but this one won't be in it. But it's a nice one to have a little bit of interest. Baltimore -5.5, and if you really want to push the boat out, go for the under as well if you want to have a healthy interest in this game. Next we have Denver, who travel to Houston, and Houston are -9.5 favourites in this one. The over and under is 41.5. I'm going to be very straight to the point in this one. Denver's defense is pretty decent. I know they're on the road and they're playing against a Houston team that need to get their act in order to be able to take control of that division. I'm not backing Houston -9.5, but what I am backing here is I think this is going to be a low scoring game. Denver don't score many points. I'm going to take the under in this game for value. Won't be part of my accumulator bet at the end, but I'm going to take the under in this one just completely for value. If I wanted to have a healthy interest, I will put a small amount on the under for Houston in this one. I'm going a lot over and unders with this because of obviously some of the teams that are favoured will have a lot of injuries at the moment, and I'm just not too willing to stake the farm on teams that have injuries and second, third and fourth string players coming in, as you'll probably find out when we get to our Cleveland Browns later on. Fourth game that we're going to look at is Washington at Green Bay, with Green Bay a huge -13 point favourites in this game, and I am not touching Green Bay at -13, nor am I touching Washington at +13. I am going to go again, and Mark from One Super Bowl Drive is going to murder me in this one. I think I'm going to bet the under in this game, and it's the point spread is only 40.5, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't been getting any protection, to be honest with you. He hasn't been getting his offense firing. I know Washington and Dwayne Haskins, they came out all guns blazing, but they're on the road this week. I think this is going to be a low scoring game, maybe something along the lines of 20 to 14 or something like that, or 21 to 14. I think this is going to be an under game, and I'm taking under 40.5 points in this game. Next, we have Detroit at the Vikings. Once again, the Vikings, a humongous -13 point favourites in this game, and the over-under is set at 45.5. I don't like the Detroit secondary at all. I don't know whether I'm comfortable backing the Vikings at -13 points. Usually my MO is not to back any team that's anywhere over -10. I just think there's too much parity within this league, and you don't tend to see those blowouts on a regular basis. Obviously you do see them, but you don't tend to see them on a regular basis. With that in mind, I would like to see before this game starts if all of the players are fit for the Vikings. I think that they could cover that -13, but just to I think that the Detroit will score points in this team. They've got a very, very open offense at the moment, and I think that the Vikings obviously will put up a high score. It's 45.5, and I think that the Vikings could put up a huge score on this Detroit team. I just don't know whether they cover the -13, so what I'm going to go with is the over 44 or 45.5 points in this game. Onwards we go to the 49ers at the Saints, with the Saints 2.5 point favourites. The line for the over-under is 44.5 in this one. Probably the game of the week, I think, in the betting stakes. The 49ers at the Saints. I just think the Saints are so good at home. The 49ers, should I say, are 2-2 in their last few games. And with that, I am picking the Saints just on the money line. I think that's a fair enough assessment. Saints in the money line, playing in that dome, just being familiar with that home field advantage and so on. It's helped them so many times. They're also a team that are looking to make the playoffs. They don't have a slouch as a coach, as we all know. Like bar Bill Belichick, he's probably the next best coach in the league itself. So I am taking the Saints on the money line there, or if you're very, very brave, Saints minus 2.5. But I don't know how brave I am when it comes to that. Onwards towards Indianapolis at Tampa Bay, with somehow Tampa Bay are minus 3 point favourites in this. The over-under is 46.5, and this is a very simple one for me. I am taking Indianapolis Colts plus 3 points all day long in this one. Absolutely all day long, taking the Indianapolis Colts plus 3 points, even though they are away to Tampa Bay. I just think this Colts team is a better team than Tampa Bay, and I think their defense gets it done. I think Winston will throw a couple of picks in this, and they could be the deciding factors in this game. So Indianapolis Colts plus 3 points is my prediction there. We're halfway down the slate now. So Carolina at the Falcons. Once again, the Falcons minus 3 point favourites. Over-unders, and that one is 47 points. Again, very similar to the Indianapolis and Tampa Bay game. I'm taking the Panthers plus 3 points all day long here as well. I just think that the Falcons aren't as good as they're advertised. Well, they haven't been very good this year anyway. But I'm definitely taking Carolina Panthers plus 3 points. Ron Rivera, yes, he is gone. They do have an interim coach in his stead. But I think that the Carolina Panthers come up trumps in this one, and they cover with plus 3 points in that game as well. Onwards to Miami at the New York Jets, which is a game that I'm certainly not going to sit down and watch. I don't really know what to back in this game, to be honest with you. Miami have been putting up points recently on a couple of teams, but the Jets themselves have been conceding points. I really don't know what way this is going to go. The over-under on this is 45.5, and for the hell of it, I'm going to say this is going to be over 45.5 points. I don't think either team are going to really care about defense in this one. It's just going to be a slobber knocker from an offensive point of view. Darren will throw the ball around the field, and Fitzmagic throw the ball around the field. Hell, let's go for an over in this one. Over 45.5 points in this game. It won't be one I'll be putting in my 3-team parlay as well. But it's definitely one, if I was having just a fun bet, I would bet the over in that game too. Chargers 3 point favourites at the Jags. The over-under on that one is 43 points. Chargers minus 3 points. Jags are going back to Minshew. I think this is one of the last times that they will have to capitalise on Minshew mania before the end of the year. Have the Jags been any good this year? They have certainly not. Have the Chargers been any good this year? Probably haven't. Will the Chargers win? Probably will. But the Jags plus 3 points at home, I think that, for a team like that, for two middling teams, middle of the road teams this year, I think it's always smart to back the Jags plus 3 points, especially when they're home. So I'll be putting my money on the Jags plus 3 points, and it's actually part of my 3-team accumulator, which is risky enough, but I do think it will come true. Kansas City at Pats is the next game I'm looking at, and the Pats are 3 point favourites in this one. The over-under in this is a massive 48.5. They think this one is really going to be a shootout between the two teams. I'm not quite sure. Tom Brady hasn't exactly been slinging the pill around the place very well this year, and Kansas City, while they do have Mahomes, they've been susceptible in defense as well. So I just don't know which way this one is going to go, but I do think that the Chiefs plus 3 points is going to be a good bet in this one. They're a strong team. People are underestimating them. You know, they've had their share of injuries this year. They've had their share of injuries on defense for certain, but they can score the points that are needed to win games. And I'm going to take Kansas City +3 here. Pats may ultimately win, but Kansas City +3 is an enticing piece of real estate that I'm going to get involved in. So that's Kansas City +3 points at the Pats. Titans at Oakland. Titans are -2.5. The over-under in this one is 46.5. And to be honest with you, the Titans are -3. Not -2.5. Titans -3 favourites, 3-point favourites at Oakland. They travel to Oakland. This Oakland team, I've said it a couple of times, is it's the potential here to kind of snowball and to lose out for the rest of the year. The over-under, as I said, is a 46.5, and I'm tying between two bets here of the Titans -3 and the over in this game. And I think I'm going to go with the Titans -3 in this game, as opposed to the over-under. I just think Ryan Tannehill has come in. He's been playing some very, very good ball. Derrick Henry has been running like an absolute monster the last few games, and I think the Titans' offense is just that bit better than the Oakland defense. And if the offense is one team is better than the defense than the other team, you tend to see that the offensive team wins. So that's what I'm going with. Is the Titans -3 there. So the Steelers are playing at Cardinals next, and the Steelers are -2.5 favourites. And the over-under is 43.5. And very simply here, it kind of kills me to do this. I think that Kyler Murray has shown a lot of progression over the course of the year. He's a damn good quarterback. But the Cardinals' defense is putrid. It's one of the worst. And I think in this instance here, the defense is going to win out in this game. We might even see the Steelers, they've had a lot of takeaways, and so on. I think maybe we might even see a pick 6 in this one from the Steelers, but with Steelers -2.5, I think they have enough to win this by a field goal or more, and I'm taking the Steelers -2.5 in that, and that is actually part of one of my accumulator. Where the Steelers, while it kills me to back those Steelers, it is part of my accumulator, which I will tell you about later. Seattle Seahawks at the Rams, with the Rams a 1-point favourite. 46.5 is the over-under on this one. I would take, there's two bets I have on this one. Is Seattle just to win on the money line. Whenever you see a team -1 point, it doesn't, at home, it doesn't really fill me with confidence that Vegas really knows what's going to happen here. They're giving that team -1 point just because they're at home. I think the Seahawks are a better team than the Rams. I know they've been in a bit of a funk lately. Tyler Lockett hasn't been the same guy he is since he came back from injury, and God don't I know it, because he made me, the fact that he didn't at least catch one ball last week meant that I didn't win in 2 of my fantasy leagues, but c'est la vie. The book got the board of the playoffs in both of them, but still it would have been nice to win. I'm going to back the under in this game, the under 46.5. I think this is going to be a heavily run-laden game, and I think that this is going to come in at under 46.5. So that is my bet on this game here, is under 46.5 in this game. The Giants and Philly, I really haven't a clue how I'm going to bet on this, and to be honest with you, I'm even kind of weary about giving a prediction on this. Obviously the Giants are going to be without Danny Dimes, and Eli Manning is going to come back in. I've heard people say that Manning is going to be rusty. Is he going to be motivated? I think he's going to be motivated. This could be the last time he ever plays with New York. I don't think he's going to play for another team next year. I think he retires. Is he going to come in and strap about the place? It's not the Manning way. It never has been with either of the two Mannings. I think he comes in and he plays pretty well. Philly are -9.5 favourites in this one, and I think that's a lot for a team that has just been, that hasn't been very good of late. -9.5, even at home. The over-under is 45.5. Now, while I think this could be a high-scoring game, I think the Giants could come in. Eli could throw for 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, and I think maybe Saquon Barkley could run for a touchdown. So I think both teams are quite capable of scoring over 20 in this. So I'm going to go with I think both teams, while they're capable of scoring, I don't think they will both score over 20 in this one. And I'm thinking I might go for the under in this one, under 45.5 points. I'm not going to be betting on it at all. I just have to give a prediction for this podcast. So I'm going to go with the under 45.5 points for this game. And yeah, I think, as I say, I'd be betting somebody else's money and not my own one in that one, because I've really no idea what way that game is going to go. And lastly, for last but not least, we have the Bengals travel to First Energy Stadium to take on my beloved Browns. And the Browns are minus 7.5 point favourites for this game. The over-under is set at 40.5. And I think that's where my... I think that is where my money is going to go, is on the over-under. I think that... I think the Bengals with Andy Dalton at quarterback are going to score a touchdown or two. And I think the Browns are going to need to come out and score a touchdown or two at home against the basement dwellers of the league at the moment. I think they're going to need to come out and put up a show. We did it against Miami Dolphins. People were saying, oh, the Miami Dolphins could be a trap game. Could be a trap game. You know, we're just after coming off Steelers, beating the Steelers. Could be a trap game. We went out and we put up 40 points in the Dolphins. What's to say? I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that we put up 40 points in our own against this Bengals team. So between the two teams together, I think they're going to go over the 40.5. I've seen some betting previews previous today who said this is going to be an under game. I don't think so. I think that's people hammering in the Browns. I think that's people thinking the Browns are going to capitulate. I think this is an over game. I think there's going to be a bit of a backlash. There's going to be a bit of a puff out your chest from the Browns. A couple of touchdowns maybe. One from Landry, one from Jarvis again. Get this show on the road. You know, finish out the season strong. So I'm going to go with the over on that. And that is the last bet that I am going to use to roll out my accumulator for the coming week. So my accumulator, to recap on that, would be the Jaguars. So that is the Jaguars plus 3 points, Steelers minus 2.5 points, and the over in the Browns and Bengals. By no means a gimme of an accumulator, but damn, it'll be fun if it comes in, I'll put it that way. So that's where my healthy bet is going on, a healthy interest bet, should I say, is going to be going on this weekend. As you know, guys, we're going to be in London. Might try and get something out as well on the betting, on a couple of betting lines prior to that. While we're in London, speaking to other people, and so on. So we'll see how that goes. Might even get the great Jack Duffin in to have a quick word on the podcast with regards to betting. He's been known to win a few pound, as have we been doing over the last few weeks. So he might have some views and tips for maybe some prop bets for the Browns game. So that would be nice to get him in and get him chatting on the pod as well, and try and make people some money before Christmas. So that would be great. So here's just a little bit of a recap about what I'm picking for this coming week. So Cowboys at Bears, we're going with the Cowboys minus 3 points. Baltimore at Bills, we're going to Baltimore minus 5.5. Denver at Houston, we're going for the under 41.5 points in that one. Washington at Green Bay, I just can't take Green Bay minus 13, so I'm going on the under 40.5 for that game, which I just think that I think that neither team is going to put up an awful lot of points. Detroit at the Vikings, we are going on the over for that one, over 45.5 points there. Dependent, obviously the Vikings are minus 13, but this is all dependent on them not having Adam Thielen. I just don't feel confident backing them at minus 13 without Adam Thielen, even though Detroit's secondary is poor. 49ers at Saints, going to go Saints money line in that one, just because of their home field advantage. Indy at Tampa Bay, we're taking Indy plus 3. Carolina at Falcons, we're taking Carolina plus 3. Miami at the Jets, I really don't know what to back here, and I said for fun I was going to back the over 45.5 points in that game. So 45.5 points. Chargers at Jags, I'm taking the Jags plus 3, and that is in my accumulator, Jaguars plus 3. Kansas City at the Pats, I'm taking the Chiefs plus 3 points in that game. Tennessee Titans at Oakland, we are taking the Tennessee Titans minus 3 points in that one. Steelers at Cardinals, and the second of my 3-team parlay, I am taking the Steelers minus 2.5 in that game. Steelers minus 2.5 against the Cardinals. Seattle at the Rams, I am taking the under in this game. I think that both teams are going to run the ball and it's going to be under 46.5. Giants at Philadelphia, I really have no clue what way this game is going to go. I throw out the under in this, but I wouldn't be backing that with somebody else's money, not even mine. And lastly, for the last part of my 3-team parlay, I have the Bengals at the Browns, and I am going with the over 40.5 points in this game. So that's over 40.5 points in this game, in the Cleveland and the Bengals game. So happy betting to everybody. Please bet responsibly. Don't bet any more than you can afford. Don't mortgage the house coming up to Christmas. This should be fun. Only bet what you can afford. Make modest earnings for maximum enjoyment. That's what I always say with regards to this. So until next time, guys, please give us a little follow on @2greenbrowns for myself. John is on JohnCahill_IRL on Twitter as well. Please, share the podcast if you like it. This is the podcast for everybody. It's not just for Browns fans. If you've got any fans of other teams that maybe want to make a small bit of money, they can listen to this and see how they find these predictions. As I say, over the last few weeks we've been making some nice bit of coin, and it's nice. It's nice to, as I say, it's a healthy interest. Never bet more than you can, and modest. Oh Jesus, what was my phrase? Modest winnings for maximum enjoyment, I think is what I'd said previously. So let's say bet responsibly. Let's try and get some money before Christmas, and most of all, let's just have a little healthy interest in enjoying these NFL games. So so with that, guys, please, as I said, please give this podcast a listen. Give it 5-star. Give it a 5-star rating on iTunes. Any written reviews. Subscribe to the podcast. And I thank you, everybody, every single one of you, for listening and everything that you've done for us so far since we started this podcast. It's really, really appreciated. So all that's left to say to round this out is go Brownies.